Rob Zombie, the director of House of a Thousand Corpses, Halloween, and The Devil's Rejects, brings you the greatest love story ever told.
Oh, I don't like the sound of that.
Think of it. The brain of a super genius transplanted into the body of a perfect physical specimen.
I want a man that makes my blood run cold. A man that every time he enters my crypt, it's like a stake through my dead black heart.
I can whip you up a humpy down in the lab.
Oh no. Remember what happened last time?
He was batty.
I'm gonna go.
Okay.
All right. I'm just gonna say this right off the bat. I don't really care much for Rob Zombie's stuff, and I don't always look at a movie and go like, "Okay, this looks interesting," but then look at the director and go like, "Oh, they did this." I always just solely focus on a movie. This one, okay. So this is a reboot / prequel for the Munsters 60s TV show. And that TV show I've seen like a couple times on like reruns for TV. It was like, because this came out during the same time as, actually I think at the same time as the Addams Family show. So they came out in the 60s, very much being kind of like the spooky version of the Batman 60s TV show, where it's like, we're going to take these like these like horror tropes, but make it silly and funny like the 60s was. And this, okay. So I have problems with this. So first off the bat, Rob Zombie, I don't really care much for his stuff. I think most of his movies have good stories, but then he throws just a ton of gore into it that just is like, okay, I don't know what you're doing. I don't get if you're trying to make a movie or trying to make homages to grindhouse style films, because I feel like every movie he does, it feels very much in that like schlock or like grindhouse style. So I've never really kind of liked that. I like the stories, but I don't like how he's like trying to make it like gore fest films. I don't think a lot of the stories that he does needs to be gore fest movies. But, you know, I'm biased. But okay, this is the prequel of the Munsters. This is how Lily and Herman met. So just in this movie, we have Lily, we have Herman, and the Count, or as I like to call him, just Grandpa. And I'll say this. This film, it's shot pretty well. The locations are cool. It is pretty to look at. But one of the biggest problems I have with this is that they don't really know when they want this to take place, because there's some parts where it looks like the 60s, and then there's some parts that they're bringing in that I'm like, okay, that are from today, and I'm like, okay, can you guys like pick what you want to do? I'm like, this is just like scatterbrained. So there's that problem I had. And another thing too is that I understand that the original show was made in the 60s. It was trying to be silly. I get it. But this one, I think, tries too hard to be silly. So to the point that it just got kind of stupid at times. And I really don't know, because I'm trying to, I mean, I do know some people that do like this movie. And I get it. But to me, I understand the whole nostalgic thing, and I never try to bring nostalgia into a movie. Even with like Ghostbusters Afterlife, when they were doing a whole bunch of stuff, they're like, "Hey, remember this in the first movie? Remember this in the first movie?" It was nostalgia filled, but it also was making sense the way they were doing it. But with this one, it's just like, we're just gonna try to be silly as much as we can, and they threw in the whole like silly sound effects from the 60s shows, and some of them work, some of them don't. But of course that's just me. The acting is fine. The makeup I like quite a bit. Me personally, I think this would have been cooler and a little bit better if it looked like it was for the way it was done was in black and white, much like the old show, and kind of in not necessarily the like box frame like the Lighthouse did, but kind of in that realm, so it looked like you were kind of watching an extended episode of the show. Maybe that would have been better. That's what personally I think, but that's just me, like I keep saying. But like I said, the acting is fine. It's pretty to look at. The makeup job I think is really, really good. But it's just, when it comes down to it, it's just the script I don't really care for. And just on how it was trying to me, it was trying to be too hard to be silly, and at times it was just getting stupid. Like, I would like to bring up points, but I'm afraid what's going to be a spoiler and what's not. But the comedy, the stuff around the main comedy, I liked better and I thought was funnier. Like the little things that were hidden, I think were funnier than stuff that was brought and that was in the forefront. And it's, I don't know. So to me personally, this isn't I wouldn't say this is a bad movie, but to me, it's not a good movie. But I didn't go into it going like, okay, this is gonna be stupid. I never do that, because then that's just not being fair. But with this, the first 5 minutes, I would say the first 5-10 minutes, it was bringing me in. I'm like, okay, all right, I see where this is going. And then they're throwing all the comedy, and I'm just like, okay, I get it. This kind of works. But then once we get into how they met, it's just like, okay. But then again, my problem is that there were some parts where it looked like they were trying to be from the 60s, and then some parts they were trying to look from today, and it's like, can you guys pick a lane, what you guys want to do? And they never say like what year the movie takes place. And so I don't know. To me, I don't think this wasn't for me. If you do like the original Munsters show, then you may get a kick out of this. You may like this. But to me, I never really had nostalgia for it, but I understood what it was. I understood that it was being silly. It wasn't taking itself seriously, much like a lot of the 60s shows were. They weren't trying to be serious. But to me, I'm just like, okay, see, I don't quite understand what you're doing here. So to me, this doesn't get terrible, because there were stuff in it that I did like it was pretty to look at. Some of the jokes surrounding the main comedy. So it was like the little Easter eggs, or like the little things that they didn't point out. That's like, hey, look at that. That's funny. To me, that was funnier. So to me, this gets fine. And there were some cameos in it that I'm like, okay, that's cool that they're in this. And then one where I'm like, okay, that's cool. Oh, they're doing, okay, let's see what they're going to, oh, you did that. Okay. I'm not going to say who it is, but, it's something where I'm like, okay, cool, they're in this. Oh, it's a Halloween thing, huh? Okay, cool. All right, I see where this, oh, you didn't do that. And I'm like, that could have worked, but, oh well. So this gets fine. This gets a fine. I don't think this would be in my worst of, and if it is, I think it would be like 10 or 9 place. I don't know. I haven't really seen a whole lot of bad movies this year. So I think this would just get not the lowest on the worst of, but like the higher ones. So it's just movies that were like, I liked some of it, but not all of it. So that would be, this kind of movie would be on that list. So it gets a fine, and but I think if you do like the Munsters premise and show, then maybe you get a kick out of this.
Greetings from Transylvania. That's a strange way of saying hello.
Oh, I guess we're gonna have to get used to it.